Welcome to News Desk with me, Mamisi Nyamiche Thompson. Coming up this hour, former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta's legal team indicates that he'll miss the OSP's physical interrogation today due to health concerns after a warning by the OSP to extradite him if he fails to show up.
Medical circumstances have changed, and Ken would thus not be unable to be physically present today for any such interview.
We have details on that, plus we'll hear from a lawyer's point of view. Also, joint investigation by Joy News and Nigeria Health Watch uncovers how some parents are bleaching newly born babies and children as young as 3 years with burned lightning creams.
There's who've had concerns about the color of or the complexion of their newborn babies, and some think there will be suspicion of infidelity. Others want some designer babies that have a particular color.
We'll bring you details of this craze to make the children socially acceptable. These plus some business updates on our desk. Stay for details. Welcome back. In our first story, sources close to the former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has confirmed that he will not be physically present in Ghana today to appear before the Office of the Special Prosecutor, as previously agreed. This, they explain, is due to an unexpected deterioration in his health. Opposition New Patriotic Party's Director of Legal Affairs, Frank Davis, says this has been officially communicated to the OSP by Mr. Ofori-Atta's legal team, along with accompanying medical reports, while alerting the Human Rights Court. This comes after the Special Prosecutor, Kisi Ejabeng, warned that the former Finance Minister would be declared a wanted man if he failed to show up in person for interrogation. And joining me in studio is Quick Passanti of our legal desk to take us through the allegations on the former Finance Minister. Kweku, thank you for joining me in studio. Well, what are the initial, or the allegations against former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta?
So I may see there are about 5 major issues that a special prosecutor is probing the former Finance Minister for. He served as Finance Minister between March of 2017 up until February of 2014 when he was removed. So 5 major issues the special prosecutor is looking at with regards to Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, who is currently outside of the country. Let's start going through them one after the other to get to see the cracks of what the special prosecutor is looking at when it comes to Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta. The first issue has to do with the contractual arrangement between SML, that very controversial SML deal, between GRA and the company under the Petroleum and Minerals Revenue Assurance contract that they signed. That is the first issue. There's another matter having to do with the termination of a contract between ECG and Beijing Zhao Cheng Technology Company. That is also forming part of this investigation being conducted by the special prosecutor on that matter. And so there are a number of them. We know that the National Cathedral is also such a big thing. The procurement procedures and financial transactions related to the National Cathedral project is also such a big thing. The Ministry of Health contract with Service Ghana Auto Group Limited for the purchase of 307 ambulances, and then how funds from the GRA's tax refund account were handled and disbursed. So these are the 5 main issues that a special prosecutor is looking at Ken Ofori-Atta for, and they say that he's a prime suspect in all of this, Mamisi.
And what were the actions taken by the special prosecutor in light of these allegations?
So we know that there are a couple of things that have happened since these matters have. Let me take you back to January of 2025, when the special prosecutor actually named Ken Ofori-Atta as the key suspect or the prime suspect in 5 cases and asked him to report on February 10 for interrogation. On 31st January, the lawyers for Ken Ofori-Atta did write back to the special prosecutor telling him that Ken Ofori-Atta has been abroad for medical attention and for which reason he's unable to come. On the 5th of February, the OSP rejected categorically this indefinite absence and then demanded a return by 10th February, in 5 days after he wrote to them. On 10th February, Ken Ofori-Atta's lawyers got back to the special prosecutor talking about certain issues that had happened. And the OSP took the view that a doctor's note submitted was vague and he had no clear return date on that matter. Things started getting escalated from this point, where on 12 February, Mr. Ofori-Atta was declared a fugitive from justice, and then he was declared as a wanted man. Subsequent to that, just a week later, Ofori-Atta gave a return date in May, and then the OSP removed him from the wanted list from what we have seen. And then OSP was then sued by Mr. Ofori-Atta, who was challenging the declaration as a wanted man and also wanted compensation for that. The Human Rights Court has since heard this matter and adjourned this matter for hearing at a subsequent date. And now, the date for Ken Ofori-Atta to return today, 2nd June, but Ken Ofori-Atta is a no-show. He has not returned into the country. The lawyers now say that because of a couple of issues having to do with health, he's unable to come now, and he can do a Zoom interrogation or any virtual platform. So that is the lowdown with the OSP and Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, Mamesi.
Thank you so much, Greg Kwasanti, is with our Legal Affairs desk. Well, the NPP's Director of Legal Affairs, Frank Davies, gave a detailed explanation of why Mr. Ofori-Atta can't be physically present at the OSP. He spoke on the Super Morning Show earlier with my colleagues Kojo Akoto and Wednesday.
In light of all of this, I think the OSP has been patently made aware of Ken's medical circumstances.
Okay.
Nonetheless, the medical circumstances have changed, and Ken would thus not be unable to be physically present today for any such interview. Of course, today, if my calendar is right, is the 2nd of June, but Ken cannot be physically present. The change in health circumstances have been communicated duly and promptly to the Office of the Special Prosecutor. That notwithstanding, his medical records have been made available to the court against the back of the suit that he had sued in court against the OSP in the Human Rights Court, seeking, among other reasons, that the OSP ceases from advertising him as a wanted person on its platforms and to desist from still parading him as a wanted person. That application was argued in court. The ASP was in court. The affidavit was argued, the application was argued, and the judge has adjourned the matter to the 18th of June for a ruling. The ASP office have by themselves on their Twitter platform and accounts brought this to the public forum that the matter has been adjourned to the 18th of June for a ruling. Of course, one's right to fundamental liberty is closely related to whether the person is well. Health rights are recognized by the law. So if the OSP's office has been furnished with material which clearly suggests that Ken is unable to be physically present in Ghana for any such interview, I wonder why. I've seen from yesterday there are a lot of media correspondences on Facebook to people suggesting that the OSP has threatened that he is going to integrate notice arrest on Ken if Ken does not appear this morning or a few days before him. And I find it quite worrying. The Electronic Transactions Act, which was passed, clearly makes room for a video recorded interview. And in this age of technology, Ken has through us, has confirmed to the OSP that he is prepared to avail himself that video recorded interview is permissible under law. So if he cannot come physically and he makes himself available to a VR, I don't see what the conflict is.
Mr. Frank Davies, I want some quick clarification here. Has the OSP formally acknowledged your medical reports and your request for virtual interrogation or postponement? And is Mr. Ofori-Atta going to do that today?
The letter has been transmitted to the office of the OSP. It has been duly acknowledged and received. I don't know what else we can do as lawyers. So far as the letter has reached him, we are of the firm conviction that he is aware. And Ken is prepared to make himself available for the VRM.
Mr. Davis.
It is not something we are doing in the background.
Right. Mr. Davis, as you said earlier, this has become a matter of public interest. And of course, the Special Prosecutor's Office is a public office. What can you tell us about the change in Mr. Ofori-Atta's health that you've communicated to the OSP?
But I should divulge Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta's medical condition to you already. I mean, how can I possibly do that? Is it not right?
Okay, but you have divulged it to the Special Prosecutor's Office.
Of course.
So it's a matter of public record now.
Well, you can source that from the public prosecutor, the Special Prosecutor's Office. I'm not about to be already talking about my clients.
Okay.
Record. I don't think it's professional enough.
All right. Is Mr. Ofori-Atta in a hospital?
He's in the United States of America undergoing medical treatment.
Okay. Can you tell us whether he's in a hospital or not?
He's in the United States of America attending onto his doctors.
So you had there an interview between the NPP head of legal affairs of the NPP, Frank Davis, interacting with my colleagues on the Super Morning Show earlier today. But joining me for more on this discussion is head of Ahmed Legal Consult, Musa Ahmed, via Zoom on this particular subject. We're grateful for your time, sir, on News Desk. Unmute and speak to us, Mr. Ahmed Musa.
I'm sorry. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So, from your point of view, how would you assess the legal implications of Ken Ofori-Atta's decision to miss this interrogation by the OSP on medical grounds, especially in light of the Special Prosecutor's threat to declare him a wanted man and initiate extradition proceedings?
Well, without holding brief for Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta, and former Minister of Finance, I would like to say that he should, from what has been going on in respect of this case, the public interest that the case has generated, the fact that many people believe that he's evading investigation. People also believe that by his conduct, it appears that the impression is being formed that he knows he has committed an offense and he's seeking to avoid legal implications. I think he should avail himself. You see, I heard a later part of the interview that his respected lawyer, Frank Davis, gave. When you ask whether Ken Ofori-Atta was in the hospital, he could not give us an answer. He said he was in the United States of America consulting with his doctors. You see, if Ken Ofori-Atta is in the hospital, then we need to know whether his condition is an emergency one. This business of telling us he's not well, he's seeking legal advice, medical advice and consultation is neither here nor there. In my opinion, he should appear because the Constitution of Ghana frowns upon discrimination. You see, we do not have two sets of laws for the rich, the powerful, and the poor. The law is one. The law is supreme. That is what we mean when we say the rule of law. He must appear. He's a citizen of Ghana. The Constitution under Chapter 5 grants him every opportunity to defend himself as a suspect or an accused person. He's been accused for committing series of offenses, specified offenses under our laws. The OSP is empowered under the Act. I think it's Section 14 of the Act.
Right.
Investigate the matter. Why is he avoiding this investigation? Indeed,
but to be fair, he's giving reasons. I mean, on medical grounds, and even alerted the Human Rights Court on this. And you know, doing this, does the OSP have an enough strong basis, you know, to even go ahead to proceed with extradition processes?
Yes, because he who alleges must prove. Ken Ofori-Atta is given a medical condition. What proof has he sent to Ghana?
Medical reports from his hospital.
The medical report is only a document purportedly coming from someone who claims to be a doctor. The person is not a registered medical officer in Ghana under our laws. The OSP is not bound to accept such a document as an authentic document. I haven't seen the document, but if you bring a document as an evidence from a foreign jurisdiction, that document ought to be certified by the foreign ministry of that country or by a diplomatic mission accredited to our country. Has that document been certified? The first one I saw, which I read from the media, I never saw any certification to that effect. Our law, the Evidence Act, provides that if you are bringing a document of that nature, have it certified by the U.S. Embassy because you allege or you claim that the person is in the United States.
Well, we both haven't seen the medical reports, so we can assume that they've gone through those processes.
I'm speaking on the assumption that they said they sent a medical report. And I'm also speaking on the assumption that it's similar to what we saw in the media, without any certification. And when the lawyer was speaking, he didn't add that certification aspect of the document. So in my opinion, I think in my opinion, and it is my personal opinion, Ken Ofori-Atta is evading investigation. At this stage, he's evading investigation because he has not provided sufficient evidence for Ghanaians to believe that he is incapable of taking a flight to come to Ghana. Wouldn't
that be the decision of the OSP or a court of competent jurisdiction to say that?
To say what?
That he hasn't provided enough, evidence to prove that he cannot make it to.
Well, we are also Ghanaians. We have the freedom of speech to also measure, in accordance with our constitution, to state our opinions, and nobody can take that right from us.
Right. How about the person is innocent until proven guilty? How does that weigh against the OSP's aggressive stance to bring him in for interrogation?
I agree. We have to distinguish the power of the investigator from the right of the accused person to be presumed innocent until he has been proven guilty. That one is a fundamental law, and I acknowledge that to be the fundamental law to protect each and every person living in Ghana. You see, when it comes to investigation, at the investigative level, nobody is saying you are guilty of the offense. What they are saying is that at that stage, they are gathering evidence, they are asking you questions, they are giving you the right to come and answer to the allegations that have been leveled against you, and you have every right to decide whether to speak at that level or not. That is when you appear. But you cannot choose to state the manner in which the investigation ought to be conducted.
Right.
I do also acknowledge the existence of Act 772, which is the Electronic Transaction Act. I believe that the request to do video conferencing with the OSP is captured by the law. But is he the one to decide that? Is it within the mandate of the accused person, the person who has been accused, to state that he wants to go he wants to take advantage of Act 772? I don't think so, because the discretion lies in the hands of the public officer, according to our laws. The discretion is not within the power of the accused person to determine the manner and the mode in which the investigation ought to be conducted. The OSP requires him to come to Ghana because the offenses for which he has been accused of were committed in Ghana. The evidence definitely will be in Ghana, if any. And then the OSP may want to take him to his own house, his premises, his office, or any other person for purposes of obtaining documents, information relating to the investigation. He cannot avoid all this. He cannot avoid all this.
Right, right. Well, there's also the case of in the Human Rights Court filed by Ken Ofori-Atta's lawyers, you know, to prevent the OSP from issuing him wanted, you know. Can the OSP go ahead with its threat to, you know, call him wanted, a wanted person, and, you know, initiate extradition processes for him?
In my opinion, the law must always be vindicated. If he has gone to the Human Rights Court under Article 33 of the Constitution to vindicate his right, I would advise caution on the part of the OSP to wait until the court has determined the application. The reason being that nobody under the law should do any act that seeks to subvert the authority of the court. Ken Ofori-Atta has a fundamental human rights. He has chosen to exercise it. It is before the law court. The law court being the protector of the Constitution and the arbiter of disputes between two parties. It says with jurisdiction of the case. So I would advise that the OSP should exercise patience. When the court has disposed of the matter, the OSP is empowered, or may be empowered, or may proceed to take those appropriate actions that it has indicated he is going to take.
Well, what measures can the OSP take if it feels it's encountering resistance in its investigations?
The OSP under the law can solicit for support from sister security agencies. The OSP is empowered to also get the assistance of the Ghana Police Service, notably the Interpol division of the Ghana Police Service. They have the power to seek for extradition from foreign country. The Attorney General is also there. Our Attorney General is empowered through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or through the government of Ghana to be able to take appropriate legal steps to ensure that the law is complied with.
Right. Well, hang on for me there. I mean, we're still on the legal issues, and let's move on to Chairman Wontumi. As we also know, lawyers of Bernard Entry Boisiako, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, is expected to make final attempts to secure his release from Yoko custody after claiming that the bail conditions have been met. Well, Mr. Wontumi has been in Yoko's custody for nearly a week over allegations of fraud, money laundering, and causing financial loss to the state, as well as separate probe linked to international organized crime. His lawyer, Andy Appiah-Kobi, told Joy News a fresh case filed by another lawyer has complicated his release. Let's listen to an interaction by Michael Ashale and his lawyer, Andy Appiah-Kobi, and I'll come back to you, Lawyer Ahmed Musa.
We begin at the tightly secured premises of the National Intelligence Bureau, where a crowd of supporters massed to demand the release of Ashanti Regional Chairman of the MPP, Bernard Entry-Boisiako, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi. At this time, he has been in the custody of Yoko since Tuesday. Leading the charge were senior figures of the MPP and minority leaders in Parliament. But even their presence wasn't enough to get access. Not even former Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia was allowed to see Wontumi.
I must put on record that the bail conditions that have been set for Chairman Wontumi's bail, 50 million Ghana cedis, is very onerous. I don't know how many people in Ghana can have property with 50 million.
Minority leader Alexander Fenyo-Markin was left frustrated. Did they allow you to see him?
Not at all, like I said. He's nowhere to be found. They claim they couldn't bring him. Here. And he's still in the custody of NIB at their Kaokudi office.
The focus then shifted to Yoko's headquarters, where Wontumi's legal team had relocated. His lawyer, Andy Appiah-Kubi, confirmed he now knew where his client was.
Oh yes, why not?
Where is he?
We had brought him to meet with Vice President, but the situation we saw was difficult to arrange this meeting, to pass through the crowd to get Vice President to see him and talk to him. So we had to take him back, and I told you that his condition of health requires attention.
After nearly 3 days of back and forth, the 50 million Ghana cedis bail and 2 sureties have been secured.
We have been able to provide the sureties. That one I can assure you. And I'm very grateful to Honorable Brian Champon, who has supported me to file the documents. He has brought his documents to which goes over and above the value of money that is required.
But even with that hurdle cleared, Chairman Wontumi is not walking free just yet.
Oh, well, obviously no.
So when?
I told you that we encountered a challenge. The challenge that needs to be addressed before we can go forward. In fact, they had agreed to do the inspection tonight. So all the officers are there. But the challenge that I faced is legal. We can't do it because, but I'm grateful to them. They agreed to wait for us to bring the documents for them to go inspect the properties.
So for now, the embattled Ashanti Regional Chairman remains behind Yoko's doors. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
But even as these last-ditch attempts are made to release him, it has emerged that there will be more trouble for Mr. Wontumi as the Financial Intelligence Center begins to build its own case. Majority Chief Whip Roxy Nelson Dafiamapo revealed this on Newsfile on Saturday.
I'm even informed that the FIC is also preparing its own docket.
Financial Intelligence.
Thank you.
Center.
So this is not the first time that an accused person at this stage, a suspect, is investigated in respect of suspected offenses that is committed contemporaneously. Indeed, by practice, if a suspect is taken through initial police inquiry, a prima facie is established and prosecution commences. Prosecution always has the power, and there are statutes, to go back to court and vary or amend the charge sheet if further evidence emerged.
As we know earlier on, lawyers of Bernard Entry-Boisiako, also known as Mr. Wontumi, filed a suit, against the Economic and Organized Crime Office and the Attorney General to vary the bail condition. Well, today we have received information that another suit has been filed to withdraw that particular, suit. So it says that a notice of discontinuance, take notice that the applicant herein hereby wholly discontinues the application against the respondents. And so that's the latest coming in from Entry Bosiako's, issue there. We understand that his lawyers are also trying really hard to get him released today. Well, let's get back to head of the Ahmed Legal Consult, Musa Ahmed, who's still joining us via Zoom. And Chairman Wontumi's legal team, insists that the bail conditions have been met, yet he remains in custody of a Yoko. From your point of view, what does this mean? Is it a violation of his rights in any way?
Well, I wouldn't entirely call it a violation of his rights. I would add that bail or the grant of bail is a fundamental right which is safeguarded by our Constitution, specifically Article 15 of the Constitution. Now, if he's been granted bail, conditions would have to be set according to Section 96 of the Criminal Procedure Act of Ghana, 1960. So those conditions, even though you have a right to bail, the law also says that conditions must be set. They set the conditions, and I believe that the overriding condition was for him to provide surety in the sum of 50 million Ghana cedis. If they say they have met the conditions or they have been able to obtain a surety that amounts to 50 million Ghana cedis, that is good news. That shows that the law is working. The accused person has been given the right, he has exercised his right. But as to why it is delaying, I have heard from other sources, including the media, that the delay was occasioned by a so-called motion for variation of bail that was filed by another lawyer. I wouldn't want to speak to that because I haven't seen any document to that effect.
Well, that has been withdrawn. That has been withdrawn.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it will still require that when you furnish security through a surety, the police will have to go and investigate. In some cases, if it involves a property, let's say a landed property, it means that it has documents. It must have a registered document in the name of the person who claims to be the owner of that property. And I know that by precedent, the police requires that they go to the Lands Commission to conduct a search. And when they conduct the search, they would have to know who the owner of the property is, whether indeed the person who claims to be the owner and is standing surety is the owner of that property. These processes ought to be complied with before they can act on the document and therefore the surety for the person to be released. I believe that they are undergoing these processes. That is why the bail has delayed. And probably too, the political interference in this matter is too much. It's too much. I think we need to speak against that.
Right.
The accused person has his lawyer who is acting for him. Why are the politicians interfering in this matter?
Well, I think they were trying to help him secure his bail.
I doubt it. You don't help somebody to secure his bail by marching to go and occupy the very institution that is investigating the corruption or the crime. You don't go there.
What does that do? Are there any legal implications to that effect?
So in my opinion, they are interfering with the investigations. They are putting pressure on them.
Okay.
That is what they are doing. Why haven't they been doing it in the case of people who are arrested for stealing fowls and food? Why haven't they been doing that? Are those people not Ghanaians? Are they not human beings?
Fair point.
Why is Chairman Wontumi so special? What is special about him?
Well, with the Financial Intelligence Center also building its own case, how will this, might it be overlapping investigations by multiple state agencies affect the speed of the legal case ongoing?
Well, if you commit offenses, we have various laws in Ghana which empowers various institutions or authorities to investigate their own, findings, if you like, according to their laws. If you go to the United States, if you go to Britain, if you go to Nigeria, if you go to Togo, we have the same system applying there. Iyoko may have its own law, which allows it to investigate economic crime. The Office of the Special Prosecutor has its own law, which allows it to investigate corruption-related offenses. The IFC has its own law, which allows it to investigate offenses relating to money laundering and so forth. So in my opinion, nothing is duplicated here.
Right.
The state institutions are performing their functions, and they are doing so in the interest of Ghanaians.
All right. Thank you so much.
You are welcome.
Mr. Ahmed, he's head of Ahmed Legal Counsel, joining us on the legal issues on the OSP and Ofori-Atta, as well as Chairman Wontumi. Well, away from the legal issues, a joint investigation by Joy News and Nigeria Health Watch has uncovered how some parents are bleaching their children, especially newly born babies, with toxic skin lightening creams. In 2018, the Food and Drugs Authority raised a public alert over the use of cosmetic pills by some pregnant women to bleach the fetus in their womb. Chieftaincy has been investigating this worrying trend in the latest Hotline documentary, Bleach Babies, The Cost of Beauty. Here are excerpts. Skin bleaching among children, a disturbing trend festering in Ghana.
Like kalani efe omu ya tuntumi sa enya mefe.
A fashion craze now falls on newly born babies and children as young as 3 years.
I've had mothers who've had concerns about the color of or the complexion of their newborn babies, and some think there will be suspicion of infidelity. Others want some designer babies that have a particular color and therefore want to do anything to get the baby to get fairer.
Banned skin lightening creams containing toxic ingredients are being applied to tone children's skin and make them socially acceptable.
When they are like 3 years, 4 years going, that's when the parents, those who don't have knowledge about, that's where they start bleaching them.
This is happening in many parts of the country. But we begin our investigations in Choco, which is home to thousands of people. The people here are mostly fisher folks and traders. The puzzle here is why some parents in Choco are risking the health of their children just to make their skin lighter than when they were born.
Like kalani efe omu ya tuntumi sa enya mefe nti enya nkubia nsu na dislanu light one ebena ni kala na da ofan na enya kokopa na diom so ema omu body mbom so nti uslan pana oyo kokopa onye fan de bia na oba fam nkunu ndine so nti enya nkubia na ya ye nkwala nkwa uni kala be fan nenso uslan pa kokopa ni body ntumi ba ni de bia na oya nipa kese onenso nkunu nti de bia oya kitwa body ni ntumi njina ni so.
Carol has 2 children, and she's a fishmonger. Carol believes beauty is incomplete if a person's skin is dark. so, she has consistently managed to turn her dark skin tone and made it lighter.
Me also be a cocoa me fe. Ntina me so. Mr. Na me pe cocoa pa light one.
Na o mama no papa o me a cocoa.
David. Me mama e tuntu, me papa nsi e tuntu.
You're still watching Joy News Desk. We'll break. We'll come back with business.
Welcome back to Business here on News Desk. My name is Winston Taki, and out of first business story. The Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, GREDA, is calling for a reduction in the prices of cement and other building materials in response to the recent appreciation of the Ghana cedi. President of the association, Dr. James Ollins Lindsay, emphasized that manufacturers and suppliers should adjust prices downward to reflect the strengthening of the cedi.
That you don't price in US dollars. A client should pay the equivalent in cedis at the prevailing exchange rate. It is clear, it is the rule, it is the law. Dollarization of the economy is frowned upon and is actually an offense. So we are saying that we will continue to price in the equivalent, the cedi equivalent at the prevailing cedi rate. But then prices of cement, iron rods, all our components should come down as the cedi appreciates, so that we can then maintain our because you see, as we speak now, 100,000 cedis, dollars worth of property now is basically 900,000 cedis from the all-time high of 1.6 million. So, but no developer has changed the price to date. The developer is losing, but we are still buying cement at that high rate in cedis, and that is why we are saying, please suppliers, please subcontractors, come down with your cedi equivalent, because we have not changed our prices. That is all I'm saying. So I'm not saying anything new. I'm not changing the goalposts. We are saying, come down, because we take components from you to form a house, for want of a simple word. And if now the price has moved to 9 cedis and cement is still at 120, 118, what do we do? So the developer is slowly running itself into a ditch.
In other development, the executive head of investment banking at Stanbic Bank Ghana, Kobe Benchi Enchil, has underscored the urgent need for innovative financing solutions to unlock the full potential of West Africa's mining sector. Speaking at the West Africa Mining and Power Expo in Accra, he noted that while the industry holds vast promise for economic transformation, both small and large-scale mining companies continue to face major funding challenges. Mining continues to be a cornerstone of economic development across West Africa, offering substantial opportunities for growth, industrialization, and job creation. However, unlocking this potential remains challenged by significant financial constraints. Speaking at the West Africa Mining and Power Expo, Executive Head of Investment Banking at Stanbic Bank Ghana, Kobe Benchi Enchil, highlighted the vast investment potential within the region's mining sector.
For the large-scale miners, they are talking about things like regulation, that would ensure that there is some stability, that there is rule of law, that contracts can be enforced, and that means that they can attract foreign investments, at the scale that they need it. For the smaller scale miners, it's getting some support in terms of geological data, so that where they focus their activities, basically benefit from some work that's already been done to prove that there's gold there, so they're not having to spend money which they don't have in exploration.
He emphasized the need for innovative financing models and stronger partnerships between financial institutions, investors, and mining companies to address the funding gaps.
It's very difficult, say, for a large-scale mining company who's looking to raise $300 million, $500 million to get that from the local markets. And that's because if you look at our regulation, if you go to the bank market, they are constrained in terms of how much they can lend due to single obligor limits. Okay, if you go to the non-bank market, that's the pension funds. We have pension funds with funds in excess of about 58 to 60 billion cedis, which are not being deployed in productive sectors of the economy historically. So what do we do to try to leverage that? That's been a problem that's pre-existed. It's existed for a very long time. And efforts continue to be made to unlock fund and pools of capital in those areas.
This year's WAMPEX was held under the theme Driving Sustainable Investment Opportunities in West Africa. That's all for business here on Newsdesk. My name is Winston Taki. We'll be back with more after this break. Stay tuned.
Ghana's sprint towards near total electrification by 2030 reached a pivotal moment today on remote Lala Island. As traditional leaders bless solar panels, Energy Minister John Jinapor launched mini-grids set to provide power for 15% of Ghana's unelectrified population in some island communities. Swiss envoy Magdalena Wust called it a blueprint for people living in these abandoned settlements. Anasa Beat reports.
The beat of these drums isn't just music. It is the heartbeat of liberation. Here on the Lala Island, where history unfolds as Ghana launches solar mini-grids for 59 forgotten communities, these people danced their hearts out to welcome the good news. It is a milestone moment as Ghana's Energy Minister John Abdullahi Jinapor led a team of diplomats and chiefs to thrust ceremonial shovels into the earth of Lala Island, launching the $86 million mini-grid that will power these island communities.
Ladies and gentlemen, access to electricity in our islands and lake communities will certainly power education, health service delivery, local businesses, and open up new opportunities for innovation and entrepreneurship, as well as curb the migration of the people from the rural areas into the cities in search of non-existing opportunities. As a ministry, we are not just installing solar panels or building infrastructure. We are lighting up lives, empowering communities, and bridging the rural-urban energy drive.
The stakes are high. Ghana's electrification stands at 87%, but islands form 15% of the unelectrified 10%. These mini-grids, backed by the African Development Bank, the Swiss government, and climate investment funds, are Ghana's moonshot to hit 99.8% by 2030. Representative of the Swiss government and deputy head of cooperation at the Swiss embassy, Magdalena Wust, highlighted ADE's success: 3 grids powering 3,700 residents.
Clean, affordable electricity improves lives, boosts productivity, and drives economic growth, especially for SMEs. We are particularly proud of our joint efforts with the Ministry and AFDB in constructing the 3 solar-powered mini-grids to serve over 3,700 residents on the island communities in Ada, and it's our hope that they serve as inspiration and a source of valuable reference for constructing these additional mini-grids foreseen under the STREP program.
President of the Bono East Regional House of Chiefs and Paramount Chief of Bassa Traditional Area, Nana Osu Sechi III, who spoke on behalf of Nananom and the people of the region, thanked government and its partners for the move and noted that it will go a long way in helping bring development to the area.
Move on to our 24 hours economy. No light, no 24 hours economy. Sese obi esu senkalia nyamia boa wani so ni hun kasiye se ubebie kaliano ama island omo a yentimi twa electricity enko enfonsio so enfasa so omo sabeka na wiei ba bia nkania ebeko bia nananom yakase yedamwase.
From Lala Island's dancing dust to national grade, Ghana just took a giant leap towards lighting every last corner by 2030. A proof that energy justice isn't just wires. It is a fishmonger's profit, a child's dream, and a village dancing back from the brink. Reporting for Joy News, Anas Sabit, Lala Island.
Well, in the Volta region, traditional authorities at Alavanyo in the Hohoi municipality have stressed their commitment to maintaining peace in the area. They affirm that they have identified the volatile nature of the area and would not sit aloof and allow trivial issues typically relating to chieftaincy to trigger any conflict in the area. There's more in the following report by Fred Kwame Asari.
Alavanyo traditional area has been enjoying peace following the ending of a protracted conflict with their neighbors in Konya. Following this, the traditional authorities in Alavanyo have become attentive to any sensitive issue that may lead to conflict. It was in this light that the royal clan in Alavanyo Hudidi legally took on one Ignatius Pongo, installed as Togbe Agbeleze, who attempted to disrupt the history of chiefdom in the community. In two separate cases, the court identified Togbe Fiaya as the legitimate chief of Alavanyo Hudidi.
We asked them, Alavanyo asked that they should install Fiato. It is the responsibility of Fiato to select a candidate to be the chief of Hudidi, but this didn't happen. Some people went and gathered Agbeleze and installed him as the chief of Alavanyo Hudidi. Later on, Fiaya family also installed Togbe Fiaya Adelia, the sixth. Two chiefs cannot rule on the same stool. Likewise, Hudidi, Agbeleze, and Fiaya cannot rule. They took the issue to court, and court said Fiaya is the right chief of Alavanyo Hudidi.
Kingmakers moved in quickly to destool Mr. Pongo. They slaughtered the ram and poured libation at the shrine site in Hudidi to notify the gods of the decision.
So we came today to destool Agbeleze, the sixth. He is no longer the chief of Alavanyo Hudidi. The second aspect is that Togbe Fiaya should accept everybody in Hudidi as his sons and daughters or people of Hudidi and instruct, give orders, rule as the chief of Hudidi. Now, if he faces any challenge from his opponents, he should let the elders of Alavanyo.
The move to destool the imposter was to consolidate the peace in the Alavanyo traditional area, considering its volatile nature. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Alavanyo.
And that's how we end this edition of News Desk here on the Joy News channel. There's more news on myjoyonline.com, and you can read more about Wontumi withdrawing a High Court application to review his bail condition. Also, bleach babies, the toxic beauty obsession, endangering Ghana's children. I am Amisi Nyamiche Thompson. Thanks for staying. We'll be back tomorrow.